Go Cardinals. Okay, before I get started, I just want to ask a couple of questions, if that's okay. First of all, who here has ever found themselves in the midst of a major tragedy? Show of hands. Okay, fair amount. Okay, second question. Who here has ever wanted to turn that tragedy into something to make the world a better place? Actually, wait. Okay, hold on. We will get to that. You can't really tell from all the silver up here, but I am a ginger. I married a ginger named Stephanie, and we had 2 little ginger boys, Sam and Ben. I am a filmmaker, a video producer, and I'm an accidental activist. And like the name suggests, I did not start out on my life's journey to become an activist. It kind of happened by accident, or maybe because of an accident. This is Daisy, my 1992 Jeep Wrangler, and she died a horrific death on October 21st, 1996, when a car hit us from behind that had slowed down to 105 miles per hour, sending us into the flip wall. And sure enough, the name fits because we started flipping. And for lack of a better description, I flew out of Daisy like this, like I was pulled by the wrists. And I remember flying through the air. I was about 5 feet up off the ground, flying at about 60 miles per hour, facing the Jeep as I'm flying away from her. And I remember a voice in my head that said, "Dan, keep your head up." And I immediately planted my chin to my chest. And that's when I hit. Smack, smack, smack. Like a rock across the lake 3 times. And I laid down, and I'm going, man, what the hell happened? And then I stood up. And I started walking towards the car. Well, what I didn't know was a friend of mine was about 3 cars back, and he saw the entire thing unfold. So he pulls over, and he walks up to me like this. And then he walks over to the car, and he gets down on all 4s and looks in for a body because he swears he had just seen my ghost. Now, I got to tell you, if before that accident I was invincible, now I was freaking Superman. Nothing was ever going to hurt me. And then about 5.5 years later, I heard 3 words. You have cancer. And I think I talked to God and Buddha and Allah and Mother Earth all at the same time, and I looked up and I said, I think you have my attention now. And I got really mad. And I didn't get mad at God. I got mad at the cancer itself. It was keeping me from doing things I wanted to do. Like, I'll never forget, 3 days before I started chemotherapy, I hobbled into my oncologist's office, a guy named Dr. Bert Needles. Great name, right? So I hobbled into his office, and he said, Dan, I'm going to admit you to the hospital. We're going to stick you on a morphine drip, and then you are going to start chemotherapy on Monday. And I said, Doc, I can't. I got plans. He said, name me one good reason why I shouldn't admit you right now. Well, I had a good reason. I'm going to ask my girlfriend to marry me. So automatically, he just whips out a script for oral morphine, and he says, good luck. And yes, she said yes, by the way. But he knew that I had to get going and live my life. He also knew that things go out the window, rules go out the window when you have cancer. You use what works. Like the banana, sure, I mean, look, they're yummy and full of potassium and vitamins, but there's an interesting little secret about the banana. The banana is the only food on God's green earth that tastes the exact same going down as it does coming up. My most pleasurable vomiting experiences during chemotherapy were after I ate bananas. And there are a lot of crazy things that happen in cancer and a lot of funny things. The hard part is actually discovering them when you're in the thick of the fight. It's like a comedian Steve Allen said in the 50s, and he said, tragedy plus time equals comedy. And what he's saying is, looking back, some really crappy situations are really pretty funny. The hard part is finding the funny in the moment. Well, actually, a couple of times I was able to find the funny in the moment. Like, I'll never forget this. It was morning 10 of chemotherapy, and I wake up, and I look like I'd slept with a gorilla. There is hair all over the bed, and I realized, oh, no, I'm losing it. So then I thought to myself, I'm like, wait a second, I'm not going to let cancer take my hair. I'm going to take my hair. Of course, that's the mentality of a 4-year-old, but at the time, it works. So I went and I shaved my head, and then I went to go see my friend Chris, because we were supposed to go to lunch. So as I pull into his driveway, I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope he doesn't feel self-conscious about seeing me bald. And all of a sudden, I see him, he walks out the door, and he walks into the car and closes the door, and he looks at me and he goes, you kind of look like the tip of my... I mean, how do you respond to that? Or I'll never forget, true story, a few weeks later, I'm laying in a gurney in the hospital 5 minutes after a couple of orderlies tag-teamed a catheter into a very sensitive place. And all of a sudden, my cell phone rings. I'm like, I'm not supposed to have my oh, it's Chris. Hello? Dude, we're going to lunch. I can't. There's a catheter up inside me, and they're going to see if I still have cancer. You know, his reaction was, you know, Duffy, it's always something with you. But all these good things and bad things were moments for me that I said, wait a second, I am making a lot of mistakes that I think I could help others avoid some of these mistakes. It was all happening for a reason. I just didn't know what the reason was. But I realized I was on my way to becoming an accidental activist. So what I did was I sat down and I wrote out a few things that I thought would help me on my journey to become an accidental activist. And number one, embrace your crisis. Embrace it, feel it, breathe it, love it, hate it, make it part of your DNA. Because once it's here and here, you are not letting it go. Second thing, use what you know. Well, I make films and I make videos for a living and I like to write, I blog a lot. Maybe I can use that to help make the world a better place by teaching people about cancer. And I have a lot of friends who like to do the same thing, so maybe we could get together and do something. And that's exactly what we did. 3 years ago, we started an organization called the Half Fund, and we are a non-for-profit mission dedicated to spreading cancer education and awareness through things like movies and books and music and blogs. And what's really cool is the way this is set up. Any project that gets funding from the Half Fund has to split all of their profits in half to any cancer charity of their choice, and half comes back to us, where we give it away again to other artists who then have to split their profits. It's actually a self-regenerating fund. And I look at the people on the board, I look at Joe and Meredith and Kelly and David and I, and we all share the same passion for wanting to make the world a better place and to educate about cancer. And they are all very good at things that I am not good at. And that is hugely important. Surround yourself with people who will make you better. Number 3, get naked. This is huge. You have got to get naked. And if I was going to put myself out there, I was going to have to get naked and share everything, including a failed trip to the sperm bank. Yeah, ingest that for a second. I walked into the room. I was in there for 30 minutes, and nothing happened. I walked out with an empty cup, and I slammed it down and went, now what? It was absolutely crazy. But then I realized later on, 2 out of every 5 men go through the exact same thing. I was so shameful and so embarrassed, and I realized it didn't have to be that way because the pressure is so exponentially upped. And I would actually like to think that the predominance of men who die from testicular cancer die from embarrassment. And I really mean that. They feel something wrong down there and they realize, wait a second, something's wrong, well, it'll go away and it's really sensitive and I'm not going to worry about it. And the next thing you know, it's in the lymphatic system. And that is not going away. And number 4, if you are going to be a bear, be a grizzly. In 2012, I had a really unique experience. I got to go to Haiti with an organization called Souls for Souls and the man who founded it, Wayne Elsey. And Wayne Elsey became an accidental activist as well on December 26th, 2004, when he watched basically what we all watched at the time, the tsunami. It was unbelievable. He sat on his couch, mouth agape, and all of a sudden, he sees a little kid's shoe wash up on shore, and he says, I can do something about that. And that's exactly what he did. He got some like-minded individuals together, and they started Souls for Souls. And in the 5 years before Wayne retired, they put shoes on 21 million people around the world. 21 million. But I felt kind of odd being down there because here was I, and I had my own little kind of non-for-profit, and here was Wayne, head of a wildly successful non-for-profit. Weren't we kind of competing for dollars? And Wayne said the most interesting thing to me. He said, Dan, you are not my competition. And even other shoe organizations are not my competition. Right now, there are over 287 million children on this earth without a single pair of shoes. My only competition is time. And I want to leave you with a story that epitomizes that. About 7 weeks ago, a friend of mine named Richard gave me a call saying that a friend of his, a lady named Deb, was about to lose her battle with cancer, and she wanted to say goodbye to her daughter, Abby, before she died. This is the last 50 seconds of what Deb said to Abby.
And I just want you to know how much I love you. I'm always going to be there. Don't forget pennies from heaven. When you find a penny, you need to pick it up. That means I dropped it for you. Look around. You're going to see signs of me. I'm not leaving you. I'm going to always be right here by your side, Ab. And I'm so sorry that I had to leave you. You're going to have a great life. Just lean on everybody, okay? Get your feelings out there. Don't hold anything in. And you don't let any men take advantage of you. Just be strong. Be yourself. Have fun. Don't worry about anything that anybody else thinks about you. Just have fun. And you'll have a good life.
In that 50 seconds, she forever changed the way that I see a penny on the street. And I bet she changed some of your perspectives as well. Every time I look down and I see one, I'm like, hi, Deb. We were actually able to get it edited a week after we shot that. Deb saw it, and she loved it. And 2 days later, she died. Biggest enemy is time. Question number 2. Who here has ever wanted to turn their tragedy into something to make the world a better place? Thank you.